Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be using our Silhouette Cameo machine to make gift tags. So these are perfect for the holiday season or just any gift giving activity. So you'll need your Cameo or any cutter machine, some cardstock. 110 pound is the one that I have, and I got this one from Michael's. And for this style, we're also going to use some glitter cardstock paper. So any color will do, whatever color you decide to use, either one will be fine, but the glitter works relatively well. So and then I'll also be using my Silhouette Cameo sketch pens and some craft glue. And the other item that you'll also need is the gift template, which I actually downloaded this from So Fontsy website, and I'll leave the link down below in the description. So I downloaded the file and I uploaded it into my cutter machine. I did make some edits to the file because the original file, the gift tags were a little bit too big for my liking. So I did go back and I resized them, and I went ahead and shrunk them down, made some edits, changed some colors just to make it a little bit easier for me to manipulate and cut it when it came time to do so. So here you'll be seeing where I am actually making a few adjustments and making the file a compound path so it'll be easier to cut. And I went ahead and I did this on all of the gift tag designs. So now that I've gone ahead and edited my files, I am now getting ready to send it to my cutter. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and get our cardstock and all those items set up on our printer. So I have my cutting mat here. This is a 12 by 12 cutting mat that came with my Silhouette machine. And I'm just going to add my glitter cardstock right on top of it. It is a tacky surface, so there isn't much to do but just line it up and put the cardstock on there. So that way when I go to load it into my Cameo machine, then it will already be in place and ready to go. So now that I have my cardstock paper ready to go on my cutting machine, I'm now going to go back to my computer and update my settings in order to make sure I select the right cardstock layer to get cut. And then I'm going to do some test cuts, and then we're going to go ahead and send that directly to the cutting machine. So the settings that I do use to cut the glitter cardstock is I do a blade depth of 6, 2 passes, a force of 33, and a speed of 3. I have found that these settings on my cutting machine cuts through the glitter cardstock the best, and without any issues, without having to worry about any other miscuts and having to redo the file. So now that the file has been sent to the printer, my cutting machine is now cutting through the cardstock and just gonna cut all 8 of the tags that I had on my original cut file. So one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I did is sometimes what happens with the glitter cardstock is that the glitter will sometimes get caught in the blade. So I'm using like a unscrew tool. I'm not exactly sure what this tool is called, and I can't remember if it came with my Cameo or with an accessory set that I purchased, but what I'm simply doing here is I'm unscrewing the cap of my blade open so I can try to get all of that loose glitter in there. And that's just gonna help with the blade and making sure that it cuts my cardstock properly. So you see here all that loose glitter that got caught in there. So what you want to do is you want to go on ahead and you want to try to tap it loose, but oftentimes that doesn't work. So sometimes what you have to do is you can use something similar to like a can of air to kind of like clean it through, or just use like a very light paper towel and get as much loose glitter out of it as possible. Then then what I'm doing here is I'm now screwing that cap back on to get it ready to put my blade back into my machine so I can go in ahead and cut the cardstock paper. So now that my glitter cardstock has been done, I'm now loading my 110-pound white cardstock paper into the machine. So now when I add this one, I'm just going to go back to my computer settings and I'm going to update and change it to start cutting the white cardstock paper. So now I've sent that to the cutter and those files are now going to be printed. They're going to be cut through. So that'll be the white layer with the designs in the bottom right hand corner. So that's what the machine is going to be cutting at this point. So now that I've done my cardstock, now that I've done my glitter cardstock, we're going to go through and do my white cardstock paper with my designs. Once that's done, the one thing that I don't do is I don't take the white cardstock off of the mat. I actually leave it on. And what we're doing here is this is my Silhouette sketch pen set. So they are, like a set of pens that you can use with your machine. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to use this pen in order to write the to and from on the gift tags. So that way it's uniform handwriting and looks really good. So here, what I had to do was I wasn't really sure what color I wanted. So I just used some scrap paper to look through the different colors and just kind of scribble and see which one I wanted best. And then once I made my decision, I actually went with the black glitter one and I went ahead and I loaded that directly into the machine. So I loaded it into the second slot of my machine instead of the first one that already has my auto blade in it. And I went ahead and I put that in there and went back to the computer in order to update those settings in order to make sure that I cut my sketch, that I update the settings in order to make sure that the sketch pens get used accordingly. So before I did that, I went ahead and I added the text to the gift tags, put the to and the from. So one of the tips that works well here is that it's better when you're using your sketch pens, it's better to use what they call a single line or a monoline font. So those are the really thin fonts that you won't necessarily see like an outline. So when you use larger fonts, essentially the pen will just trace the outline and try to scribble the font on the inside rather than just writing it. So here, the font that I actually selected was a Montserrat thin. So when I sized it down, it was actually thin enough that it actually, even though it seemed like an outline, it was thin enough where when I send it through the cutter, through my sketch pen, it's actually gonna look more of like a monoline or like a single line font. Now that I have that, I went ahead and I made sure to update my settings. I purposely made the font in green. So when I go to select it in the line settings, I just uncheck the blue and I uncheck the black to ensure that only the green is what's going to get written on. I then went back and I selected, I made sure to select that I'm using a sketch pen for my tool and my material. So that way it doesn't think that it's a blade. And the other thing that I will do here, or that it's recommended to do, not even recommended, but you would have to do, is to switch the cutter in order and switch the tool cutter from red to blue. So remember back then I did put it in the second one, not the first one. The first one is considered red and the second one is considered blue. So I made sure to change that into blue, sent it to the printer, and now it's going through and it's actually writing the to and from on the gift tags for me. So I wouldn't have to manually handwrite them. And the only thing that would be left to do is to handwrite the name on them. So that's what the sketch pens will do. And they actually came out really nice. And I'm very excited at how they came out here. So now that we have our gift tags, we're now going to get ready to put them together. So they've all been cut. The holes are good. The fonts have been written. So what we did here is I kind of just made sure that I counted them, made sure I had, all the tags that I needed. And then the next step is to go on ahead and get your craft the bond glue or maybe a Mod Podge will work. I have Mod Podge, which I didn't use because I didn't want to experiment. I was on a time crunch. So I went ahead and I added the craft glue onto the white cardstock. And then what the next step that you're going to do is you're just going to take your glitter cut tag, and you're just going to line up the hole at the top and kind of just like align it appropriately just to make sure that it's even before you actually, push it down and get it together. So just make sure that it's in place where you want it and it looks the way you want it to look before you go ahead and start applying the pressure, because once you apply the pressure with this glue, it's not moving and you'll just have to discard it and start another one. So I went ahead and I made sure that was aligned, put it together, added the pressure, as much pressure as you can. Another thing too here is you feel like if your paper does start to curl up, which mine did, oftentimes what I do is I just take the tag and I just put it underneath something flat and heavy, and then that way it'll keep constant pressure on the tag while it dries, and then the tag will be good to go and you won't have to worry about it continuously folding on the side. So we went ahead and we did the same thing with our second tag. And then another tip that you also can do too is, if you would like, you can also add some glue onto the glitter cardstock, and then that way you'll get double the adhesive, just depending on your comfortability level and what you want to do. So either option would work, whether you put it on the cardstock only or if you put it on the white cardstock and the glitter cardstock, both options will work. If you'd like to see more crafting videos and like arts and crafts with paper crafts or just holiday decor, please drop a comment and let me know below what you would like to see. I'm definitely experiencing a little bit more on the creative side and would definitely like to, do a couple of projects that you all might also be interested in. So definitely feel free to drop a comment below and let me know what else you would like to see.